important was it? I mean, everyone's important, but important for you guys after that loss and that layoff to come back. You didn't fall behind early, but to come back and get a victory against Central.
A huge win for our football team, and I really felt it was a pivotal game, and I felt that way going in. And number one is Central Washington, so you're playing, one of the top tier teams in our conference, certainly. Fortunately, we had them at home, but then coming off the 16-day layoff, and the fact that our most recent game was not up to standard, not up to what we expect, and a defeat. So a very pivotal game, and very, very pleased with our players. They came out, we make a mistake early, an interception on the second play of the game, and 2 minutes in we're down 7, and that wasn't part of the plan. But I think our kids showed great resolve, great character, and no panic. They were confident, they played, and once we were able to come down and match that score, make it a 7-7 game, we really felt in control. We were doing the things we needed to do, wanted to do going into the game, and that was first, win at the line of scrimmage, and we were doing that on both sides of the ball. We were able to run the football on offense, and we were getting pressure, not allowing Nelson, their quarterback, to get comfortable back in the pocket. And if you can do that, that really helps in terms of your play calling on the offensive side and the coverage that you're able to provide, because he's going to throw off time a lot of times with his pass game. So again, and it was, as it turned out, just a tremendous performance by our defense. Once again, they're the top defense in the conference statistically, and they certainly played that way Saturday night. Held Nelson to 95 yards passing, held their offense to 230 total yards, and both touchdowns that were given up were really the result of short fields created by mistakes. The first being the interception, and the second one, with just a few minutes to go in the game, a high snap on the punt that we were unable to get off. So our defense is playing tremendous football for us right now, and that's allowing us to be in this position where we're 6-1.
You knew that you'd be getting some personnel back on defense last year that were injured, but has the defense just surprised you in a way, or is this what you expected?
I think this football team in general, and certainly our defense as well, has grown more from the start of the season to this point than any football team I can recall. They're playing with tremendous confidence right now, and for the most part, 9 of the 11 guys on defense are players that played, either started last year or played significant roles last year. But a guy like an Alex Barkarian has taken his game to a completely new level. The way he's playing, leading the conference in sacks right now, and just is really unblockable the way he's playing. And with him and Silas next to him, Cody on the far end, Dylan Huffman, holding the middle down. We're getting pressure, constant pressure out of a 4-man rush. We were unable to do that a year ago. To get pressure, we had to bring a 5th or a 6th defender. And I watched the game film of the defense, and I'm just going through it and I'm checking things. I go ask Coach Mack, how many times did we bring pressure? And the answer was 2. And I knew that we just didn't need to pressure, because we were getting that pressure out of a 4-man rush, and it helps everything. So just again, great credit to these kids and the way they're playing, because we have so many players that are playing at a very high level. Alex Barkarian, Silas Darvinsky, Travis Hansen, Jamal Jones had a exceptional game on Saturday, and it was great to have Jerry Maluia back there. He brings such a calm and such a presence, I think, when he's on the field. And then Nick Sharp has just proven that he's one of the top defensive players in this conference, and a big interception for a touchdown early in the game with him.
Simon Frazier this week. Overall, I believe 2-6, but in conference 2-2. So they're making sure that those wins come when they count in that conference. And we just talked about Simon Frazier. Well,
Simon Frazier's a team. They have beaten us 3 straight times now, and again, they've been a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde team this year. They played Azusa Pacific down in Southern California. It's a 6-point game in the 4th quarter. They played them toe-to-toe. Should have beat Western Oregon at Western Oregon last week. They're up 2 midway through the 4th with a possession inside the 10 going in for a score that would make it a 2-score game, throw an interception, and Western Oregon comes back and wins late. And then the other side of that is they got blown out in a game versus Central Washington and a game versus Idaho State. So they have shown that they are good enough to certainly, you put the record aside, and Brandon said it, that any team in this conference is capable of beating any other team on any given Saturday, and it's really, really true. There's a great deal of parity, and we know firsthand in dealing with Simon Fraser. They started our downfall last year in the home opener. They came in, and it's the same quarterback and the same receiver and a lot of the same players that handed us a defeat at the Redwood Bowl last year in the opener, and like I said, started us on a slide that took a long time to recover from. So we will not overlook Simon Fraser. It's not about their record, not about our record. It's about the fact that it's one more game. This is this week's opponent. It's a difficult trip, yes. A different environment. We're playing on grass for the very first time. We're playing an afternoon kickoff, 1 o'clock kickoff for the very first time this year. So our routine will be changed somewhat. But and we're playing a team that has shown they can, rise up and play with anyone. And so we have to be ready. We got to make sure we continue to do what it is we do, and that's win at the line of scrimmage, take care of the football, force some turnovers on the defensive side, and be sound in the kicking game if we can. And if we can do that, we've shown we're a pretty good team.
Played on grass for the first time this season in practice. Do you take them to a field with grass and kind of, you never know what the conditions are going to be like, but I know teams that aren't used to playing on turf, they'll get a
Right.
Is that something that you'll...
We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Again, I'd rather have a quality practice than try to find a grass field. And again, it's wet everywhere right now. We're just going to have to adapt. And it's just part of what a football team has to do over the course of any season. You've got to adapt to any adversity that comes your way in the form of injuries, in the form of schedule changes, or going from turf to grass. It just, how strange is it now that playing on grass is unusual. But that is the day and age we live in. And the next 2 games we have, this one up at Simon Fraser, and the next week at Western Oregon, will both be grass fields. Again, it's going to be wet. The forecast is for rain throughout the week. Maybe a break on Saturday, it looks like. But regardless, we know the surface is going to be wet, soft, slippery, and all of that, and we'll just have to adjust once we get there.
Last question, as a coaching staff, how important is it you're checking everybody to make sure they have that passport, they can get over and be at the game?
It's a headache, is what it is. But it's part of what we have to do this week. Simon Fraser is the only Canadian school that plays at the NC2A level. We'll be the only American football team playing outside of the country this year, I believe, or this week. But that's part of what we have to do. We've got to make sure all the players are bringing their passports to their position meetings today, so they can give them to the coach. We'll know right away, is there any issues or problems that we have to deal with. And usually it's not crossing the border that into Canada that's the problem. It's coming back into the United States following the game. But hopefully things, that since Simon Fraser has been doing this, and a lot of teams will be going up, as we are this year, to play that game, that the board is a little bit understanding as far as teams when they travel. But you never know. We had a situation, I think it was 3-4 years ago, where we got stuck at the border coming back. I had a player that was a Canadian citizen, and it was the U.S. that he didn't have the proper documentation to get back into the United States. And we were at the border for all of 4+ hours to try and finally get that taken care of. So you kind of keep your fingers crossed. A little bit of the luck of the draw, I think, in terms of who you draw, what border agent you get, and what kind of day they've been having. So we'll wait and see. Hopefully no problems.